Across the cradle of humanity, a quiet revolution is unfolding. A continent that for centuries powered the rest of the world through its resources, its people, and its labor, is now powering itself. This is not the Africa the world thought it knew. This is an Africa of innovation, strategy, and unity, an Africa rewriting its destiny on its own terms. For too long, Africa's story was told through the lens of extraction: oil from Nigeria, gold from Ghana, cobalt from Congo, coffee from Ethiopia, and cotton from Mali. Each of these treasures fueled foreign economies while leaving the continent dependent on loans, imports, and conditions it didn't create. But a shift is happening, one so large, it's shaking the foundation of the global economy. Africa, once labeled emerging, is now converging, aligning its markets, its people, and its policies into a single vision: economic independence. This transformation is not born of charity or external aid. It is born of necessity, intelligence, and a generation that refuses to wait. When 54 nations came together to form the African Continental Free Trade Area, AfCFTA, the world barely noticed. Analysts dismissed it as symbolic, a dream too ambitious for a continent so diverse. But within just a few years, that symbolic union has become one of the largest free trade zones in human history, representing more than 1.4 billion people and a combined GDP of $18 trillion when fully realized. Imagine a continent connected, ports, railways, and digital payment systems linking Cairo to Cape Town, Lagos to Nairobi, Dakar to Dar es Salaam. That vision is no longer a dream. It is happening. The numbers tell a story of resurgence. Africa's intracontinental trade is growing faster than any other region in the world. Manufacturing output has doubled in a decade. Foreign direct investment into renewable energy, digital infrastructure, and transport corridors has surged, not from dependency, but from strategic collaboration. For decades, Africa was viewed as a supplier of raw materials. Today, it's becoming a manufacturer, a market, and a global player. The youth, Africa's greatest asset, are leading this charge. Over 70% of the continent's population is under the age of 35, and this generation is not waiting for permission. They are building companies, writing code, founding fintech startups, designing satellites, and exporting innovation. This isn't just economic growth. It's a generational awakening. Every major economic power, from the United States to China, now sees Africa not as an aid recipient, but as the center of future growth. But this time, Africa holds the leverage. Africa's alliance is not a block of dependency, it's a network of empowerment. By controlling more of its own supply chains, building its own refineries, and investing in its own people, Africa is rewriting global economics. The global balance of power is quietly tilting, and for the first time in modern history, it's tilting south. What does an $18 trillion Africa mean for the world? It means the beginning of a new era. Africa's rise didn't begin with sudden discovery. It began with disillusionment. For decades, the continent's vast natural wealth produced little local prosperity. Gold, oil, and rare earth metals left its shores, but development lagged. The old economic order was designed to keep Africa as a supplier, not a competitor. But a new generation of leaders and thinkers saw through that. They understood that power isn't in what you export. It's in what you own, process, and trade. That's why Africa began building not just trade routes, but systems that keep value within its borders. In Kenya, Silicon Savannah emerged, where digital payments like M-Pesa transformed how money moves, giving millions access to financial services. In Rwanda, drones deliver medical supplies across remote villages, a symbol of efficiency and innovation. In Nigeria, fintech and digital banking startups are connecting the unbanked, driving economic inclusion faster than traditional banks ever could. Across Egypt and Morocco, solar and wind farms stretch for miles, powering industries and homes alike. In South Africa, green hydrogen projects are placing the continent at the forefront of the clean energy revolution. In Ghana and Botswana, local refineries are processing gold and diamonds before export, multiplying national revenue and creating thousands of jobs. These are not isolated achievements. They are signs of a collective shift, a continental movement towards self-sufficiency and shared prosperity. Infrastructure, once the continent's biggest challenge, is becoming its most powerful asset. Massive projects like the Lapset corridor linking Kenya, Ethiopia, and South Sudan, or the Abidjan-Lagos highway connecting 5 West African nations, are physically uniting Africa in ways unseen before. Railways funded and constructed with African vision and international partnerships are reducing logistics costs and opening access to landlocked nations. Fiber optic networks are connecting millions, and continental payment platforms, like the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, PAPSS, are allowing transactions in local currencies, reducing dependency on the U.S. dollar and costly exchange systems. This system is revolutionary. It means a Kenyan company can buy goods from Ghana and pay in shillings while the seller receives cedis. Trade becomes faster, cheaper, and freer, truly African. Africa is no longer waiting for permission to integrate into the world economy. It's building its own, and that's what's changing everything. The rise of AfCFTA and regional economic blocs like ECOWAS, EAC, and SADC are forging a new geopolitical power, one that operates not through competition but cooperation. The African Union's recent invitation to join global partnerships like BRICS is another sign that Africa's voice is no longer optional. It's essential. Foreign investors are noticing, not for charity, but for opportunity. Africa is the only region where consumer spending is projected to double by 2035, reaching over $6.7 trillion. Its urban population is expanding faster than anywhere else, and new megacities are emerging across the continent. Lagos, Nairobi, Accra, Addis Ababa. These cities are becoming investment capitals, attracting global tech giants, renewable energy firms, and local entrepreneurs working side by side. The world's dependence on Africa's natural resources, from lithium and cobalt to manganese and nickel, is increasing. But unlike in the past, Africa is building the industries to refine and transform these materials locally, keeping more profits within the continent. The African mining vision, adopted by the African Union, pushes for transparency, sustainability, and fair trade. The goal is clear: to make Africa not the source of raw wealth, but the home of finished value. Africa's food sector tells another story of transformation. While global supply chains struggle, Africa's agricultural output is growing faster than any other regions. Countries like Nigeria, Kenya, and Ethiopia are investing heavily in irrigation, modern farming, and agrotech startups. Africa's agricultural economy could reach $1 trillion by 2030, feeding its own people and exporting to global markets. And then comes energy, the lifeblood of modern economies. Africa's potential is staggering. The continent holds over 60% of the world's best solar resources, and yet accounts for less than 1% of installed capacity, until now. Nations like Morocco, Egypt, Kenya, and Namibia are racing ahead with massive solar, wind, and geothermal projects that will power not only homes but industries. Africa isn't just going green. It's going powerful. Beyond economics, this rise is reshaping how the world perceives Africa. Once seen as a continent of crisis, it's now becoming the continent of creation, innovation, collaboration, and investment. Global powers are competing not for control, but for partnership. But Africa's greatest strength lies in something deeper than resources or trade. It lies in its people, the youngest population on Earth. By 2050, 1 in 4 humans will be African. That means 1 in 4 workers, consumers, creators, and leaders. This demographic boom could be the continent's greatest advantage if education, innovation, and infrastructure continue to expand. And they are. Across universities in Ghana, Rwanda, and South Africa, new programs in AI, engineering, and entrepreneurship are training Africa's next generation of leaders. Governments are investing in skills that will shape the 4th industrial revolution: robotics, data, and digital literacy. When the world looks at Africa today, it no longer sees a continent waiting to be saved. It sees a continent preparing to lead. This new Africa is confident, connected, and collaborative. Its voice is growing louder in trade negotiations, climate talks, and digital transformation forums. When Africa speaks, the world listens, because the global economy now depends on African stability, African markets, and African innovation. This is the real meaning of Africa's $18 trillion alliance. It's not just trade deals or GDP figures. It's the rebirth of ownership, pride, and purpose. The alliances being forged today, from the AfCFTA to strategic partnerships with Asia, the Middle East, and Latin America, are building a multipolar world where power is distributed, not dictated. And Africa is at the center of that balance. Africa's story is no longer a whisper. It's a declaration. For centuries, others defined what Africa could or couldn't be. But today, that narrative belongs to Africans. This generation of leaders, innovators, and dreamers isn't chasing anyone's approval. They're shaping their own future. From the deserts of Namibia to the skyscrapers of Nairobi, from the oil fields of Angola to the fintech hubs of Lagos, a new rhythm is pulsing across the continent. It's the rhythm of independence. Africa's $18 trillion alliance is not just an economic milestone. It is a symbol of unity, a proof that when 54 nations collaborate with a shared purpose, nothing is impossible. The world's balance of power is shifting, not because others are falling, but because Africa is rising. And the most powerful part of this transformation? It's only the beginning. In the next 2 decades, Africa's population will exceed 2.5 billion. Its cities will lead global innovation. Its universities will produce the next generation of scientists, engineers, and leaders. Its trade routes will connect the world in ways never imagined. Africa is not waiting for the future. Africa is the future. The $18 trillion alliance isn't just reshaping economics. It's reshaping imagination. It's showing the world that growth, dignity, and unity are not gifts to be granted, but rights to be earned and defended. The continent that once fueled empires now fuels possibility. The land once divided by borders is now connected by ambition. The people once overlooked are now unstoppable. This is the dawn of a new era, the era of Africa's power, Africa's pride, and Africa's promise. And the world is finally beginning to see it.